It's Sunday morning, and boom, it's Hot Mike. Hi.
Hi.
It's just you and me, babe.
That's right.
That's how I start all of our conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's our thing.
So it is Sunday. We watched some interesting fights this week. Really great prelim main card last night with the main event, Sean Strickland, Jack Hermanson. But earlier in the week, we watched some absolute dog shit fights.
Yes, we did. Oh.
Aries. The promotion was Aries. We watched this on UFC Fight Pass. And what was your takeaway?
French promotion.
It's French.
I feel
that's
like we
right.
should say that right up front.
Okay. This
This is
they were in
French debacle.
Paris. Well, and what was interesting is, like, did you see Cyril Gahn was in attendance?
No, I didn't.
That guy.
There? Oh my god.
The number 2 heavyweight in the world attended that event.
He must have really wanted to show them some support.
I mean, guys were practically so it was heavyweights and women's featherweights alternating. The women's fights were interesting. They actually were pretty fun.
They were, and we even got to see an amateur fight, or their professional debut fight for 2 women.
That's right. And not bad, pretty impressive. I mean, they'd get lit up if they went anywhere near an organization like PFL, Bellator, ONE, UFC. They got a long road ahead of them. Yep. But they put on some pretty good violence. But the heavyweights were so poorly conditioned. When the round would end, they wouldn't get up off the mat for 15, 20 seconds. And guys are trying, like their cornermen are trying to get them up and get them on the stool and get ice on their neck.
Oh my God, yeah, that's right.
And do you remember there were fouls that were happening during the fights, and the ref is trying to stop them and break up the action. You stand up, and then fight. He could not get them to stand up. Like, they were so lethargic after 45 seconds of fighting. It was the worst. And those guys are technically professionals.
Technically, now they are.
Oh, my God.
I was really confusing.
Do you remember the first fight that we watched? They were trying to get... So they broadcast on UFC. They had a local broadcast in Paris. And all the logistics of running that live event. Which I can't... We've done a lot of event stuff. I've only done a few events where there was a live broadcast, and I do remember that was such an added level of pressure because there's so many other people who are going to watch this as well, live as it's happening. But the fighters do their walkout, they enter the ring, and then they have to wait for the broadcast to sync or go live.
What was it, like 12 minutes?
12 or 13 minutes.
Oh
they stood just
bouncing around and trying to stay warm.
So painful to watch. And a great reminder of what an incredibly well-oiled machine the UFC is. And some of the other promotions. You occasionally will see some hiccups when you're watching very rarely. PFL is great. Bellator does a really good job. One Championship is one of my favorites as far as presentation. Promotion.
I like them too. They're very slick.
Are they a Japanese company?
I think so.
They're great. I feel like for me, my top tier is the UFC. You guys are crowning jewel. ONE, PFL.
Does it seem like maybe, and this is completely my conjecture, but that they were trying to set up Aries like the France UFC? Because what was noticeable to me, or very striking, was how professional it looked. Like the ring itself was really nice looking. Yeah. Like they had all the things they needed there.
The arena was great.
The arena was really well put together. Yep. Whoever the production team was for that, smash job. But the actual performance of the whole operation was terrible. I mean, we saw so many egregious errors in the way they ran the event. That I just, like, you know, I hope they were careful what they wished for, because if they got a lot of attention on this launch of Aries, so like more people saw this disaster. To anyone who watches MMA regularly, you'd see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if they're trying to be just the French funnel into the UFC, kind of like Cage Fury or Cage Warriors FC. Those are like UK promotions that some guys who really rise to the top in those promotions can get a call up to something like Dana White's Contender Series, and then they get to really showcase their skills on the UFC platform and potentially get a contract. There was no one present there that night that was anywhere close to getting a contract in anything but Aries. The level of talent. Okay, if that's their product is entertaining fights and making matches that people want to see.
Yeah.
They have a piss poor product.
So triggering, so traumatizing we knew that they had been trying to stay warm for a few minutes, but we didn't know how long. And to hear 12 minutes as a former theater manager at big film festivals, I was just like, I would have been crucified for this. And it wasn't even live television.
So
it hurt professionally.
I thought you were going to say, I know full well how cold it can get in those theaters. And those men had to stand out there in their underwear. That was brutal because they do so much backstage to get the muscles warm, get the body warm for combat. And then you go out and you have to stand for more than 10 minutes in this big open arena that I'm sure was freezing.
Doesn't it seem like some fighters can just go in no matter what, they're ready to fight, but for others it's like, I got to do things a certain way, I've got to do my amp up the right way, or I'm not going to go in with the right headspace. I felt bad for those fighters that
need their ritual.
Ooh, remember the smoke debacle?
Yes.
The first walkout we saw, which was the second fight we saw, which was the women debut fight, and they came out, you couldn't see one of them.
They really
until
overdid
they
it
got almost to the
with
ring
the fog
because of how much smoke came out.
Yeah, it was bad. And then the next one they didn't do enough, and that was a tough promotion. Do you think it was the first one they've ever put on?
I hope so.
First one of Aries? I'd never heard of Aries before.
I had never heard of it, and that was an assumption I was making, was that it was the first time. But it might not have been.
I'll watch it again just to see if they've dialed it in a little bit better. Yeah.
I'm not letting it take a valuable piece of my time, though, like an evening or a weekend. Kind of worked best because it was right in the middle of the day,
and it was a live event. We weren't watching a
right.
Fight Pass rerun or anything.
That's why it was different.
That's why it was different. Yeah, we had some time in the afternoon, and we're like, wow, I just got this notification. I got this strange French fight league. Let's check it out. Whew. Yeah, that was rough. But it certainly gives me an appreciation for how high level the broadcast of our sport is.
Me too.
Our sport.
It's ours.
Well, I mean, I feel a little bit of ownership just because I love it so much.
Me too. I never liked sports much growing up. I tried to get into it, tried to get into the popular ones, and certainly had a lot of pressure to like football, and I just never got into it the way I love MMA.
Yeah. Football.
Like, now I get it.
Kind of tolerate.
I have something to yell about.
Yeah.
That's the test of whether you enjoy something. Did it make you yell at the screen?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom yelling at the screen during a football game, and me just, I don't get it. Why are you so upset?
Yeah. You don't know any of these guys.
This isn't even your team today.
Oh my God. That's the funniest. But yeah, I think it's something that we both have connected to and related on, is not understanding the team sport.
It just
mentality.
makes me feel like something's really out there for everybody. I don't think it's bad that there's football and soccer and basketball. I think it's great. They're fantastic. I just don't get entertained by them.
that's what this is here. This is a safe space to talk about whether you dislike sports or love something else. Like, this is a safe space for that. And we happen to really connect on the fact that team sports, ball sports, do not interest us whatsoever.
I have always thought it's just atrocious when someone judges someone based off of where they are because of a football team or because their team is some other team. And now I have to admit that if I find out there's an MMA fan and they really like a fighter that I really don't like if Henry Cejudo fans, just not into that guy. That guy bugs the crap out of me, even though he's really good at what he's just so cringy. And it's like, I might not like you as much. Like,
oh, I see what you're saying. Like
I have to admit that now I've got these little biases against, like, oh, if you have an opinion about this fighter, now I have an opinion about you.
Yeah.
Which is probably not good.
Yeah. But and does that work with teams since they're so like regional?
Well, that's my impression.
But some people pick their teams on the colors that they wear. Jerry Seinfeld had an old bit about this where you could love a player, but if he goes to a different team, you're still just watching your team. And he's just saying that sports is really about fashion, that you're really into the uniforms.
Well, that's what always drove me crazy about team sports is you can't like give all the credit to one person.
Yeah.
And then the team changes every year. So if you get attached to certain guys, which it usually happens, then it's like, wait, do I go root for the Packers now that he's over there, or am I still a Bears fan? I don't know. It's really
do people
confusing.
follow
it's
players?
Like, I live here, so I have to support this team. And then I bet there are a lot of fans who have multiple teams, multiple players that they're following. And I mean, fantasy football boggles my mind. People got to know stats on all the players, all the teams. It's not just following one team anymore. It's a lot.
Yeah, you follow the whole league.
Yeah.
See, it's fun. It's funny that we're talking so like we're so out of our depth in this.
So out of my depth.
Yeah, and if somebody would be like, "Oh, I want to sit down and like tell them like what's what and the X's and O's of why we like it this way," I don't give a shit. I don't have the. I don't want to. I cannot. I'm now too old to pretend I give a shit about sports.
Yeah, we each get to decide what we care about, and you can't give someone a hard time for that.
We were watching some NBA promos that were coming on in between fights last night, and I mean, they make like basketball players make the game of basketball look really impressive, like their athletic ability and what they can do consistently. Super freak athletes, but what they are actually doing is just to me, it's so dumb. You're putting a ball through a hoop. I mean, it's so low consequence. Like, things do not matter. I just think it's so silly. And I see it as a waste of talent because of what we love to watch. If LeBron James had just really gotten into Muay Thai, that guy's unstoppable. And he kicks everybody's face off on the planet.
It does make you wish you could see all the other top athletes fight each other.
That's what I want to see.
Just like come into it and be like, oh yeah, you're a really good athlete. How well do you hold up when you've gotten tapped a couple times?
Yeah. Like, what if more of those giant super freak linebackers knew how to box and had really good submissions? Like, they would be unstoppable in the heavyweight division.
Some of them do. I bet there are players, definitely some football players who love MMA and do it for cardio, do it for dexterity and things and strength and conditioning. And the truth is, there's not as much money in it.
No, there isn't.
They make so much more money playing football, which is a game where, yes, they are sustaining crazy injuries. I mean, all you have to do is watch that Aaron Hernandez documentary, and I know way more about football injuries now and how intense it is. But it's not the same as someone's trying to take my head off, and we're letting him try to take my head off. it's just more primal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love our sport.
Yeah.
And it is hard to call. Like, we've talked about why it's a sport, because that can be kind of hard to call it a sport. But I think it's to do with the rules, the timing aspect.
Yeah.
There's such a strategy to a 5-minute round, or to 3 rounds, or to 5 rounds in terms of your gas tank and what strategies you're going to do. And if it were a real fight, like no rules, no time limit, what would win every time? Is it BJJ or wrestling?
I think it depended on the fighter.
Depends on the fighters.
But I wouldn't want to watch that either.
No.
Like, it is good that this resembles a sport.
Yeah.
And I think it is a sport because it's a specific rule set that we've all agreed upon. It's sanctioned. And it's competition. We have a way of judging it so that at the end we're as accurate as we can be. The judging system is in need of fine-tuning. But in the end, the hope is that you're as accurate as you can with who won this fight, whether it was definitive or close. So it does feel like a sport. And if it was no rules, nothing's agreed upon, and it's just guys, and it really is just like Mortal Kombat, I don't think I would enjoy that. I like that there are parameters.
I like that there are rules and safety. Because it's definitely, when I first started watching it with you and seeing just how brutal it sometimes gets. I mean, you get nights that aren't as bloody, and then nights where there's bone showing through. Yeah.
I don't like those nights.
I don't either.
But
they make me wonder why we watch it. But that there have been no deaths in the UFC was really comforting, and I know it has a lot to do with the rules. Because sometimes I'm just astonished at what the human body can recover from in the ring. Yeah. It has given me a new understanding for what causes damage, what damage it does, and also the miracle of the treatments they get afterwards to get them back on their feet and fighting again. Yeah. Yeah, there have only been a few deaths, and they're in different promotions. They've never happened in the UFC. Yeah, there's been a few kickboxing deaths, like after bad knockouts. There's bleeding in the brain, and you hear someone didn't recover or went into a coma and then died. I'm so glad it's very rare. Oh, so glad. Yeah, but the consequences are just so high. And yeah, I can't believe what damage. I mean, it's not as there's this debate about, like, is football, the injuries sustained in football, are they more significant to brain damage than MMA, or MMA compared to boxing? I think I was asked that in a sauna recently. Do you think we were just talking about MMA, and the guy was like, do you think that boxers sustain more head trauma than? And so that's a point of debate, and most likely they do, unless they're very defensive and they're really good at slipping and rolling punches, like we saw last night from Sean Strickland. Oh my God, he's very good at that. He's very good at not getting hit. Yep. You just move a couple inches. Yeah, and bring a shoulder up, and it just glances off. Which I'd be like, across the room. Yeah. To avoid that blow. Yeah. It was so impressive. Where in boxing, also you're wearing big gloves. You're wearing like 16-ounce gloves. Those are not to protect your head. Those are protect the hands. So you've got your hands wrapped tight, so tight that they're now basically have an exoskeleton on them. Yeah. You got all your bones in there. Like, it's going to be much harder to break your hand. Now you got a giant pillow on top of it. You can punch all day. Whereas if you just punch this table, this nice hardwood table, maybe you punch it twice and you're like, I'm done. No, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, so guys just getting repeatedly popped in the head, concussed over and over again. Yeah, perhaps boxing is more dangerous. Guys clashing heads with helmets on in football. I was going to say the NFL, but it's everyone who plays football clashes their head.
Right.
Whether you're in high school, whether you're a top pro.
Middle school.
Yeah. You were talking about recovery and all those treatments that fighters do. It's such a misconception around PEDs and a lot of these things that are illegal to use in the UFC or in mixed martial arts in general, and many different promotions. Roids. They're really, I mean, some are steroids, some are just like treatments, but it's to recover.
Right.
And then I always had I had a misconception that it was like, oh, they make you stronger.
I thought so too.
It's like, no, you then can work harder. That's what it is. Yeah, you don't get to take steroids and sit on your ass and get jacked.
Such a misconception that I had too.
Yeah. The work still has to be put in.
You still have to do all that work.
Yeah. Dwayne Johnson is on all the juicy stuff. He is Mr. PED. But he puts in the work to be the massive human being that he is. So, mad props. But, yeah, I had to learn that. It really came out of the Lance Armstrong scandal. Like, I just didn't understand and blood doping and all that stuff. And it was like, it does help with performance, but it's so much of it is to do with recovering.
Once they explained it to me, actually, I think you helped me understand what blood doping was with Lance Armstrong. I'm like, well, why was it against the rules then? It's his blood. Yeah. It's just his blood. He just took it out and put it back in.
I got extra.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. That's weird.
The whole set of rules around performance enhancing drugs are very confusing. Seem a little, I don't know, just not gonna. We're gonna see some change, I assume, in our lifetimes around what's allowed.
There's such a stigma around it.
It actually makes you safer.
Yeah,
that's the point, right? Is that it makes your recovery faster, safer, so you can do more, and it's actually helping you recover.
Yeah. In some circumstances, I bet probably it's better to train smart
and not do them.
Just not do them.
Yeah.
Train really well, live a healthy lifestyle. But it's the competition thing where you're like, well, I need to compete at the top level against the most athletic freaks that walk around the planet, especially if you're fighting. That's a big thing where it's like there's an ethical conversation around if you've got an edge on your competition and you're racing bicycles. That's very different than having an edge on your competition and you're going out there to knock each other out. Yeah. So now the consequences are different.
Yeah.
Crossing the finish line first and brain damage.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. But I think maybe the best way is live a healthy lifestyle, train smart, and recover well, using, I guess, like things that are proven safe. I think some guys need the edge so badly they're willing to do things that are unsafe and could compromise their body down the road.
Yeah. What are the long-term implications for most of the steroids and PEDs? Do they affect how you age?
I think so.
Yeah.
You are redlining your organs, I think. For the big guys, for like guys who are juicing, this is my understanding, juicing for like bodybuilding. That these like human growth hormone is a big one, especially if you're looking to get big. That grows everything.
Oh,
like your heart,
your nose, your like.
You can get big features.
Weren't we looking at a star? And it was like he's been doing so much.
Zac Efron.
Yeah, him.
He's got a little bit of the HGH face.
Yeah, where it's like you showed me a picture of what he looked like when
Before,
before and after, and it's like their jaws are just, I don't know, bigger.
It gets, like
noses
more pronounced. Mm-hmm.
It looks weird.
Things start to change. That's why don't mess with it. Age naturally.
Because once you get all that weight on, your body's not going to be the same if it ever goes away.
Right.
Then you've got to keep it on.
Yeah.
Forever, and that's not how your body was designed to naturally be.
It's interesting when you see fighters retire and they get really out of shape because they're so broken down from the decades of training and they're kind of over it, that now that they don't have that goal out in front of them,
they stop working out.
They just stop.
Yeah.
They stop training.
Wow.
So it's impressive when you see a guy like George St. Pierre, who his dedication is to martial arts. It's not just to being UFC gold. Like, okay, I'm the champion. I got to be the champion. As soon as that's done, we're going to change the marker for success. Like for him, it's to be the best martial artist he can be through his entire life. Yeah. And so he stayed in impeccable shape, continues to train like a maniac, and he's full-blown retired.
It's really impressive.
Honestly, I hope it would be kind of crazy if he came out and fought Habib. Like if that would be like they both come out of retirement to fight each other. But they're both risking so much. Like that's why it's so interesting.
Yeah.
But I kind of hope that he doesn't, where it's like both of you guys just ride off into the sunset. I mean, Habib, I definitely think retired early.
Is Conor going to come back?
Yeah, he's still in it. He still has fights on his contract.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, so he's not retired.
Okay.
He just, his leg fell off.
I don't think you should keep fighting after your leg falls off.
Probably not.
I don't care how much money you have. You just
What if with modern
let it go.
surgery, they can, and he can become the Bionic Man and it's stronger? Because I've heard people blow their ACL and then they get it replaced and it's like 150 times stronger than their ACL that they were born with.
I guess that's possible then.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the future for Conor is. Might be the Nate Diaz fight. I don't see him getting the title back. I just can't see it.
I just see a sunset. That's all I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see
a really beautiful sunset from a private yacht with anything money can buy.
Yeah. I see a wealthy man with a beautiful family who got out of that crazy sport alive.
Yeah.
Not unscathed, but go enjoy your money. Go enjoy your whiskey.
Like, is this just because you don't have anything else to do?
Yeah.
You gotta have something else to do.
Right. Well, incredible performance by Sean Strickland last night. That was fun to watch.
And I flip-flopped. Like, I went into the fight really rooting for Hermanson.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his energy, getting into the octagon and, being in front of Bruce Buffer. And he just seems like such a great guy.
Yeah.
And a good fighter. But oh my God, Sean Strickland just won me over again.
Yeah.
Like halfway through. And I was like, I want Sean to win because it's just so impressive what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy he didn't start talking shit and going wild until the last 30 seconds of the fight. Because that's typically how he just fights the entire time.
Wow.
But he made Jack Hermanson's face look like Jack Hermanson was wearing a mask of Jack Hermanson that had slightly been melted in the microwave.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh. Yeah, his face looked like sausage.
It was rough. It was a great fight night.
Oh,
Prelims were so fun.
Fantastic.
It was just fantastic night of violence.
A lot of finishes.
Yeah.
I love those nights.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. And when there's nothing like we're super invested in, I love the nights when it's like, no, we're not really nervous for a specific fight. We just get to enjoy the violence.
Low pressure. Mm-hmm. That was a perfect fight night.
That was great.
All right. Let's wrap it up there.
Okay.
That was our MMA half hour.
That was fun. Bye.